Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the ICAST. I'm Michael Doeys, and I'm here with Marty Sobo. How are you doing, Marty?
Pretty good, thanks. How are you?
Doing good. Well, it's been quite an announcement-filled week, I believe, and
It
uh,
has been.
we got some very interesting articles and things like that. So we got I want to describe this announcement that we got. Have you seen this thing, Marty? The announcement
I,
that came out yesterday?
I did. I got a quick glimpse at it. I didn't really get to spend a whole lot of time on it. I was actually a little bit caught off guard because the big thing was, are we not going to have an event in October? So this was something that came out of the blue, unexpected, or if it was expected, was maybe only in 24 hours before it actually got announced, maybe a day or two at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, they're not doing their normal, Tuesday at 10 a.m. type of thing. This is going to be
Right.
on a Monday night at 5 p.m., I believe, West Coast time, if that's correct. And
Right. Yep.
so
Seven
that's not
o'clock.
something they ordinarily do.
7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah, that's late.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's
I'm
never
not
seen them
sure.
do
Are they
this.
inviting people in for press and all that stuff, or is this
No,
just
they're
strictly
just
going to be?
they're dropping a video
Yeah.
for people to stream, and we'll be doing a IACast. We'll do a special on that, and we'll stream it over Zoom and record a podcast as we typically do. But it's just such a strange, like, thing. They've never done this before, and at least at
I
this
think
time.
they've done a couple things in the past, one or two things. I remember they did a educational event in New York, and it was at a weird time they don't normally do. That happened a few years back. There's been a couple times they did an
Right.
odd thing like this, but it's very rare that they do it. Usually they're pretty, they do the same routine every time. So
Yeah.
when they do something that's a little bit different like this, a different
Mm-hmm.
day, a different time of the day and all of that, it's always, a little bit interesting. So we'll have to
Right.
see.
And it's just very, like, the time of day is so random. I guess it's kind of to keep with the Halloween theme. But have
Yeah.
you seen the image, the animated image that's going with this?
I haven't seen the animated image yet. No.
So it's very interesting because it starts out with the Apple, like the outline of the Apple logo, and it flashes off, and then it kind of it kind of goes through and draws a line of the macOS face, like that you see on Finder, but it kind of makes it
Mm,
look all spooky and scary.
mm. Cool. Well, at least they're
So
going to stick with what's going on in the moment, which is Halloween the next night. So
right, and they're doing that, but also that's like, okay, that's definitely the Mac. There's no other thing, and it's interesting because they've never really used that face in marketing in a long time.
yeah, that's been
Like,
around. I think even since classic version. So
yeah,
that's like the one thing that they've kind of kept in the operating system and visible throughout classic and then into OS 10 and kind of keep on going. It's still kind of that Finder icon that's that sort of classic image that's been around for a long time. There's been some various versions of it, but it has been the one thing that's kind of been along the way pretty much since as far back as classic and
hmm
into 10 and it's still there. So
well, and it's so weird because because I go to Finder all the time and I never notice the face, and I look at, oh yeah, there's a face there.
yeah, I know it's kind of weird too. It's actually two faces, I think.
Yeah, it's like two colors. It's like half of a face is one, half of the face is one color, half is the other. It's kind of make it to look 3D kind of thing,
Yeah.
or something. I'm not exactly
It's like
sure,
two
but
colors. I think one of it is like a side profile supposed to be
hmm
something like that.
but it's just so interesting that they're using that in the marketing again. It's like, oh, that's kind of a breath of fresh air that Apple is like, we know we're doing all this new stuff, but we still got this old, thing, these old things that are still great. So I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, it's definitely cool.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to, we definitely know it's about the Macs, and the event's called Scary Fast.
Correct.
And
So let's start with the scary fast thing. Do you
yeah,
think, in your opinion, this means that they're going to introduce the M3?
I do. And interestingly enough, the M2 came out summer of last year. So this is kind of the time period for
Right.
the M3.
Right.
Now, interestingly, people on different podcasts are reporting that the stock of iMacs and MacBook Pros is in short supply right now in stores.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of leads to a lot of people to think that what we're going to see is new iMacs, which we're due for one. We're due for an M3 or some kind of iMac, and maybe the 13-inch Pro and maybe the Air. I don't know that we're ready for another refresh of the Pro and Max chips, but who knows at this point? Everything's in the air right now. We have no clue.
Yeah. Well, so since people are thinking and guessing there possibly could be a new iMac coming, the current iMac that's out right now is a 24-inch iMac. Now, previous to this iMac, we had a 21.5-inch iMac and we had a 27-inch iMac. And both of those were only Intel. When they came out with this 24-inch iMac, that was the first iMac that they went up from the 21.5-inch screen to the 24-inch screen. They introduced the M1 processor into it. They did add colors, and it's really thin, and everything else is pretty iMac-esque about it. But they never came with a new 27-inch iMac. I personally think they're probably done making a 27-inch iMac, because as long as they have that 27-inch studio display, and you have the option, actually you got a few options, but we're talking about desktop computers, not laptop computers. You've got the Mac Mini, and you could hook that right up to that display, the 27-inch Apple Studio display. You now also have the Mac Mini Pro, which you can also hook right up to the 27-inch Apple display. And we have the Studios, and those hook right up to the 27-inch Apple display. So now that we have that display and all those three choices, do you really think they're going to come out with a 27-inch iMac again? I say no, is what I say. But this has been something that's been around a long time. It's been a rumor that's kind of been going around, swirling around. We're talking for, a few years now. I think there's a possibility that there's going to be a 32-inch iMac.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible. Anything's possible.
I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or whenever this event is, Monday night, but I think that's could be in the works. Since they haven't had one, they did bump up from 21.5 to 24 last time. They didn't come with a 27. Now we're going to get something new iMac, and it'd be interesting to see if we get a new 24-inch with an M3 processor, and we get a 32-inch with an M3 processor. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible. I think it's, with Apple right now, anything is possible. We just don't know what we're going to get. But I'm just excited because all bets are off. We just don't know. And Apple is kind of saying, we're going to bring out new Macs. And interestingly, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but MacBreak was saying, Apple's kind of and this kind of explains the Apple Pencil right now. If it's ready to come out, it's ready to go. They're not going to wait. They're just going to push things out at the right times. And I find that interesting. Like, when they have production ready on a certain machine, they're not going to wait anymore. They're just going to bring stuff out. That I think Jason Snell or Andy Ihnatko was saying that. And so It's interesting. What are your thoughts on that? Like, is Apple kind of not strategically planning these products like they used to, and just, okay, this is ready, time to ship? What are your thoughts?
I think that if it's a product that already exists, so let's say, for example, the MacBook Pros, right? They just in the past couple of years came back with this new redesigned 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. And when they came out, they made a big, huge deal about it. And they talked about, the awesome, mini LED displays, and all the ports are back, and they put the keyboard back to something that everybody really loves. And they made a big deal about it. And, they wanted to kind of introduce it with a big bang, right? But if they're just going to do iterative, updates, for example, hey, they're going to come out with a new 14 and 16 inch and it's going to have an M3 in it instead of an M2, or in a MacBook Pro case, it would be, my guess would be an M3 Pro and an M3 Max, since that's basically how they do it in the Pros. You get the first bump from the regular processor and the next bump. So I think that if that's all they're doing, is going to stick a new processor in it. And I would say this for any of their products. If it's something that's not a full-blown redesign or a brand new product, I think that they have no problem just dropping it as a press release and not even bother doing all the rest of it. But if it's going to be a brand new product, then they will do a press release and they'll make a big deal about it. That's kind of where I think it's at. The only other thing is if it's something super small, like the Apple Pencil that came out a few days ago, that just came out within the past week. So that isn't enough for them to like have a whole keynote around and do all that. They're just going to drop it,
Right.
Same with the AirPod Pro 2s. The only thing that really changed was the USB-C port from a Lightning. Now it's got a USB-C port. They're just going to drop it. They're not going to have a big, huge event around that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's only really going to be products that are going to be something either major or it's going to be a new product. But if other than that, it's not a major thing, like not a full redesign or not a anything like that, they're just going to drop it. That's what I think. Because they can just do that whenever they want. There's no timeline they have to go by. It's just wake up one morning and boom, there it is. This is the new product. And
they did that with the MacBook Pro in January. Like the first week of January, boom, new MacBook Pros, videos, boom.
Correct.
This is like a planned, like, hey, just letting you know we're streaming this video on Monday night. So
there's a couple things that are interesting about this to me. Thing number one is that if it was just going to be another iMac with a processor bump in it, then I don't think they would do this whole huge event. So if they're doing a whole huge event around it, then what's going to be the new thing? There's got to be something. I mean, they're making a big deal out of it for something. So is it because it's going to be the M3 and they want to show how fast and insane it is more than the M1s and the M2s and all those things? So is this more about introducing the M3 processor, or are they going to have a brand new, fully redesigned iMac? And maybe, just maybe, we don't know 100%, but they're going to have a 24-inch and a 32-inch model? I don't know. I mean, have you heard any other thing they're going to come with? Like, what rumors have you heard besides M3 and besides iMac have you heard?
Well, the only thing I want to mention before I go into that, though, is there is talk of, not talk. I think it'd be cool if they had a 32-inch iMac Pro. Like, bring back the Pro line of
That'd
iMacs.
Be awesome.
That would be
I would buy
amazing.
One of those in a heartbeat. Like, I would get that. I'd go get one right away, probably.
Maybe with like the Pro Display XDR technology in that thing and the speakers.
No, they won't do that because that display's too expensive. They're not going to put that. I mean, unless they make it like maybe an $8,000 32-inch iMac or something like that.
That's not that. Apple would do that.
Yeah, they definitely would.
It's Apple. How much were those wheels for the Mac Pro?
I think they were like $1,000, weren't they?
Yeah, something like that. So
something ridiculous. I'm not sure the exact number, but it was something where I saw the price and I went, "Are you kidding me for wheels? Like, come on now."
So it's Apple. You never know. Of course, we completely balked at the 400 or what was it, 550 price for the AirPods Max. And what am
totally.
And what am I using right now is AirPods Max.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is it's interesting. I don't remember where I saw it, but I just read an article just like in the past 2 days where the price of those, sometimes you can find them on sale, but for the most part at regular price, they're kind of obsolete compared to lots of other headsets that are out in the wild now with way better features and not nearly the price, so we're talking like in more like the $350 range, and you're getting USB-C and noise cancellation. And I mean, just look at the new Studio Beats that came out. I mean, they really almost, in terms of functionality, have more function and features than the AirPods Max. Now the sound, that's a little bit different. I'm not going to say that the studio sound better than the Macs, but most people, the sound is good enough, and they go for the decent sound, and they go for the functionality of being able to have all the things, right? They want to have, USB-C and noise cancellation and an affordable price and folded up small and all those things. So
and see, I agree with you on that. Like for what they do, all the functions are great. I prefer the transparency and the sound on my AirPods Max over the Beat Studio Pros, but they're still a really good headset for what you get. I'm just sad that the warranty is now completely out on my AirPods. So I'm hoping that the next rumor I'm going to talk about comes true, that either next week or during next year, we're going to get a refresh of the AirPods Max. I'm really excited about that.
Is it really? You think they're going to come that quick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, but the rumors are for next week we will get a new set of AirPods, maybe the AirPods 4.
Really? I didn't even hear that. Okay.
Yeah, that was in the rumors, so I'm excited.
So are these regular AirPods up from? So we have 3 sets of AirPods. We've got the regular AirPods. We've got the AirPods 3, which are similar to the 2s and the 1s, but they're slightly different. They have they're kind of in the middle. They're not silicone tips. They're still the plastic tips, and they're just a little bit different in design, and they have a couple of different features. And then you've got the AirPods Pro 2, which is, interestingly enough, their only thing they really did was add a USB-C port to it. And other than that, and this is the first time I've really heard something like this, and there was an article I just read on this recently, that all of the regular updates that they're doing to those are all through software. So you're getting a whole bunch of new features. Even if you have the Lightning version, the buds are the same, whether if you have the AirPod Pro 2s, and you're getting all this new functionality just through over-the-air updates. And so that's at least pretty cool that you don't have to go out and buy something new if you don't want to right now.
Right. So I do like the regular AirPods, like the AirPods 3. So this would be an AirPods 4. So without the foam tips or whatever that silicone,
it's just like a hard plastic kind of, and you don't plastic, you don't change the tips or anything. It's just not silicone or anything.
And I like those because I can hear around them. I can hear really well around them. So I can just put one in and just go about my day. And, it's kind of like when they bring out new tech, like new MacBooks. Like they start with the AirPods and they up the AirPods Pro, and then they up the AirPods Max. And then, so I have a feeling this is the start of the next range of AirPods. So I'm really excited about the 4s coming out. If they do release those next week, I will be picking some up.
Have you heard any features, anything new about them?
I haven't. I just heard that there might be a thing. I have a feeling they're a spec bump and maybe some battery improvements over the 3s.
And it'd be interesting if they throw USB-C on them.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. The less lightning I have to carry around now, the better. And eventually I'd love them to update the keyboards and trackpads to not use lightning. I don't think they will, but I mean, they may have to. But
I think eventually they probably will. It probably won't be first priority, but I think eventually they will, because if everything's going to go to USB-C, eventually they're probably going to want everything just to be USB-C to have like the fluidity across all of the devices. People will go in and they'll be mad. No, this still has lightning. It's kind of like, why can't it have USB-C like everything else? And again, we go back to something like the Max and the new studio headphones are USB-C, and the Macs currently in their current state right now, they're still lightning. So if they come out with the new Macs, I guarantee you they're going to have USB-C. There's no way that they could have the studios with USB-C and not put a USB-C into the Macs. That would be crazy. I think.
And that will be fantastic, because then we can get the same cables with the Beats and use them with the Maxes.
Yeah, definitely.
So that makes me very excited.
Yep, and I can't wait to see what they do. I mean, I'm always interested to see what they do, like what's going to be the new difference between the 3 to the 4s, and what kind of software will they add to it, capabilities and stuff like that. One thing, there was an over-the-air software update that came out on the AirPod Pros 2, and I've been using those. And the coolest thing is they used to have three modes. There was like an off mode, and then they would have a transparency mode, and then they would have the
Noise cancellation.
noise cancellation. Yeah. But they've added a new one, a fourth one, which is transparency mode, I believe it's called. And it's a mix of the other two modes together. And it kind of
adaptive.
Adaptive. That's correct. Yeah. It's called adaptive. Right. And it's a mix, and it just uses the technology to kind of figure out your environment of when you need more noise cancellation, or if someone's talking to you, you need less noise cancellation. It's pretty cool. I've been playing around with it with mine, and it's actually pretty interesting. I would say give it a try if you haven't yet, because it's kind of like the best of both worlds at the same time. It's pretty cool. And especially if you use it a lot, it starts to learn your environments and stuff like that. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
They did add one mode with iOS 17, like when it first came out, called conversation mode. I turned that thing off immediately.
Oh yeah, that's probably just like sensory overload, I bet.
Well, what it does is as you start talking, it lowers your music, and it lowers it down to almost nothing. And then like sometimes it'll lower it to zero. And it's very jarring when you're starting to talk to somebody. It's like, well, my audio's gone, and it's just not seamless. And so sometimes it'll duck it down a little bit, sometimes it'll duck it down a lot, or sometimes it just completely cuts it off, and then it waits like 3 or 4 seconds to turn it back on. So it's like that's more of a hindrance than conversational,
Yeah,
now
if it
were to listen for other people talking near you and then lower it instead of just you talking, because like say you're listening to a song, you go, oh, that's a great song, oh, my music's gone.
Oh, that would be awful, especially, when you're like right in the middle of a song and you're enjoying the song, and all of a sudden just is gone. You're wait, what happened? It kind of ruins like the vibe,
You're jamming out, you're singing, my music's gone. What happened?
Yeah, it totally like blows the mood, right?
It's like you're at that you're at that concert, and the person's playing, and then he expects the band to sing along. It's like that's not what's happening here.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's pretty funny, I would say.
So I did turn that off personally, but I'm sure some people do like it. But
yeah, I think it also depends on your environment, what you're doing, and where you are, and stuff like that. But I agree with you. I kind of just turned that off. Also, it didn't really work for me.
So they are expecting. The rumors are that the lineup of AirPods will be refreshed by the end of next year for sure. So that's exciting. That is really exciting to me.
Yeah, definitely.
The last rumor I don't think this is a rumor, I think this is a fact, is that it looks like there's going to be price hikes in the Apple ecosystem for services.
They already did it, it looks like. I think they've started rolling it out, I want to say today.
Just like they rolled out 17.1 today, they're rolling out price increases. So like Apple TV, Apple One, Apple Music, Apple News,
Arcade,
yeah,
they're all of those things. Plus the bundles, they've increased the bundles also. Now you have a bundle. I think you and I have the same bundle. We both have the bundle with everything, right? I have the all the things, music, all the things, and then I have the 2 terabyte option. You have the same one?
Yep, I do.
I think it's up to like $35 a month now, or
37 is what you said.
37. Yeah. So all of them across went up, but specifically Apple TV, that was the most individually. That was the most price hike, I think, because I think it was $6.99 before, and now we're up to $9.99 in one shot. That's a pretty big jump right out of the gate like that.
Well, I think they want to make a lower tier plan with ads. I think that's what they want to do. Which I feel like we already have ads, because we start watching a show and we get an ad for another Apple TV show at the beginning of it. So it's like, you're already showing me ads.
That's on one thing though, but how are they going to do that with other things like music and arcades and all that?
Yeah.
People pay for those things so they don't have to have ads.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that they're going to have an ad version for those, but I think especially for Apple TV, they want to be able to do that.
Yeah, I would say to everyone, make sure you check, if you're subscribed to any of those things, just check to see where you're at. There's going to be a price hike, definitely. So it's rolling out now, and it's somewhat of a significant price increase. I mean, would you change your mind and say, hey, this is too much. I'm already paying enough money. This has exceeded my line in the sand. I mean, what's your feeling on it?
Yeah, I'm gonna pay it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
what are you
just
going
gonna
to do?
right because I'm so ensconced, I guess you could say, in the Apple ecosystem that it's and you know what? I felt like for a long time that I needed to be everywhere in all the ecosystems, so I paid for a lot of them. I've changed my mind on that because I feel like Apple does well for me. And I
Right.
mean, I could use free plans on the other places so I know how they work, and that's good enough. But
Yeah.
Apple, I'll give them my money because that's where I live. That I use Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. I use iCloud Drive. I use all these things. So why not use it? Use what I'm paying for, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you.
So I love my Apple products. They do. I've loved them since 18 years. I've been using Apple products. 2005 was when I started really, into that ecosystem. So almost 20 years of Apple for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but and because I grew up in the Windows world and you should always use Windows, there's always like, well, I'm a rebel because I'm using Apple and I still like that. But at the same time, I'm like, well, it's totally fine to be an Apple person. And I think
Yeah,
that's something that we
absolutely.
all need to think about as computer users. Be where you're most comfortable. And I think
Exactly.
that's
And what's
important.
going to work for you, what's going to be the best tool for you to get whatever job done you need
Right.
to get done.
Right.
So, it's just a personal choice, just like anything.
So I mean, yes, they call it the Apple tax for a reason. Things go up, but I mean, every streaming service right now is going up. Disney Plus is going up. Hulu's going up. Paramount Plus is probably going up. All of them are going up in price because they need to make more money.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see now what's going to happen with things like cable and stuff like that. People are trying to get away from that because it was so expensive. A lot of people might be going back to that. The technology in
Hmm.
that world has kind of been updated now to where most of the providers now have a feature where you can put their app on your, like Apple TV, for example.
Yep.
You don't even need coaxial cable anymore. You
Right.
just get the app, and then you have the app on your Apple TV, and you can watch all the same things you would if you had a digital cable box. You get the
Hmm.
same menus and all that stuff, but you can also put it on your phone or tablet or whatever. So if you're going back to cable, it's kind of similar now to all the other streaming services where you're going to have the option to be able to just take it with you if you want and watch it anywhere you want and all of that good stuff. So
My biggest thing with cable though is I just don't like all the ads. I don't like the commercials. But you're
I know
right.
it's
If
kind
you
of feel like double dipping.
I mean, if you're already having, I like to watch whatever show I want without having to watch ads. And so, but it is true. If you have Hulu, Paramount, Disney Plus, all those things, then you're paying about the same as if you had cable. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are going to really think about that whenever they are going forward. So I've heard that on a lot of podcasts too.
Definitely. I mean, it's just everything across the board, no matter what you're doing. We're just in a time right now where everything is really expensive. A lot of prices are going up just, with everything across the board. So I guess it is what it is.
Yep.
Now,
Well,
one other thing about the
oh,
bundles that we should probably mention, and we might have mentioned this in the past, but as long as we're talking about all the Apple bundles and the digital services they offer and stuff like that, they did introduce two new services just in the past few weeks or so. And that is the amount of virtual hard drive space that you have the option to purchase. So the two new options are 6 terabytes, and the second option is 12 terabytes. So if
mm-hmm.
you really need cloud storage, you can up your cloud storage to either 6 terabytes or 12 terabytes now.
And those actually came out with iOS 17, but it is worth mentioning. And do you know how much they cost each?
I'm not sure the exact price
I think it's
right
like
now.
35 for the 6 and like 70 for the 12.
Yeah, it's almost double of the M. Now the M or whatever the top tier bundle is with everything, because currently that top tier comes with 2 terabytes, I believe, if you don't
Hmm.
upgrade it. But I think you can get that package and then you can add more hard drive space to that package if you want to.
So you could have 8 and 14 terabytes.
Correct.
That's a lot of space.
That's a lot of cloud storage. Gosh.
Right.
But if you have a family and everyone's downloading movies and everyone needs at least like a terabyte or two, of space, especially if you have young kids that are downloading every movie possible and streaming and doing all this crazy stuff, then, you cut that up between, 4 to 5, possibly 6 people in a family, and it goes pretty quick, actually.
But that does not go, like downloading movies from Apple TV doesn't go towards that space. That's just iCloud storage. So like your photos, your videos, and all that kind of stuff that you save in iCloud goes towards that. So one use case for this would be your spatial videos for Vision Pro. That's why somebody would want this. Right.
Yeah, that's probably going to take up a lot of hard drive space.
So pretty exciting stuff though. And honestly, if I didn't have Google Workspace, I would buy the 6 terabyte or the 12 terabyte, because then I wouldn't have to worry about space at all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about anything at that point. And one thing that people may not know about iCloud Drive is if I share a folder, say I share a folder with Marty, right? Or Dropbox, if I share a folder with Marty and he accepts, then he's also being that space on my Dropbox and his is being taken up by whatever we put there, no matter what. On iCloud Drive, if I share a folder with Marty, it only takes up the space on my iCloud Drive, not Marty's.
Yeah.
Which is
now there's something
really
about
cool
Dropbox
feature.
too, which is interesting. If you're going to share a folder with me, I heard, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, I've been trying to like really nail it down. I didn't get a straight answer one way or the other yet. But if you were to share a folder with me, for example, right, like we were just talking about, both parties, you and myself, have to have like the pro version of Dropbox. You can't have the free version.
No,
that's what I heard.
You can share a folder if on the free version, but as far as I know, because I'm in several free folders on the free version, but you have to have, if that folder is over 2 gigabytes, then you have to have, you would have to go to Pro to be able to use that folder, because it's going to take up more than 2 gigabytes on your computer,
right,
or on your Dropbox. So.
Gotcha.
That's one thing I like about iCloud Drive is, for one, you get more memory, I think. Unless they up that with Dropbox. I don't remember if they did or not.
I think weirdly enough, it's still like 2 gigs, I think. So which is iCloud, ridiculously small these days.
So iCloud, you get more space, and it only counts against the person sharing. So that's another reason why I really like it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all the real big Apple news we have. Next week we'll have all the details. So it'll be a much longer conversation. It'll be a great conversation. So I'm really excited about that. But I think that'll go ahead and do it for today. But Marty, do you have an app pick for this time, or do you want to give your contact info?
Yeah, sure. I can be reached on Mastodon at marty@unmute.community. And I didn't come up with an app this week. I'll have to save it for next week. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, I was thinking about one, and I have not come up with an app either. I'm Mike Doeys on all the platforms. So Mastodon, Mike Doeys at techopolis.social. I'm on X as Mike Doeys, Facebook, I'm Michael Doeys, and you could even find me on Blue Sky. So check out there. And you can find me all over the web. You can email me at mikedoeys@icloud.com. And you can find the podcast at iacast.net. And our iAccessibility app is continuously getting new updates. So it's really exciting. And we're also sending out notifications through the app to let people know when we're going on to different podcasts. So it's very exciting.
Yep. And stay tuned for next week, because we'll have all the answers from this Apple event, which is going to be happening Monday night. Stay tuned for info on doing our live Zoom call and kind of watching the event and sharing our thoughts while that's happening. And then on Wednesday night next week, we'll be talking about all the things. Yep. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see if it's as scary fast as they say it's going to be.
Exactly. Hopefully it will be. That'd be great.
Right. Well, all right, everybody. That'll do it for this episode. Thank you so much. And thank you, Marty, for being here.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.